Have you ever wondered what happens when American engineers decide to build a supercar that can embarrass Ferrari at their own game? When Steve Saleen set out to create the S7 in the late 90s, most people thought he was crazy. After all, America was known for muscle cars, not mid-engine exotics. But what emerged from that California workshop wasn't just another sports car. It was a twin-turbo monster that would rewrite the rules of American performance. Today we're counting down 20 weird facts about the Saleen S7 that even die-hard car enthusiasts probably don't know. And trust me, some of these are going to blow your mind. So hit that like button and subscribe, because this ride is about to get wild. Number 20. The S7 was originally designed to run on airplane fuel. Yes, you heard that right. During the early development phase, Saleen engineers experimented with using 100-octane aviation gas because they needed fuel that could handle the extreme compression ratios they were planning. The engine was initially tuned to run on this high-octane aviation fuel, which is typically reserved for small aircraft. This wasn't just some crazy experiment either, they actually ran several prototypes on aviation fuel for months. The idea came from Saleen's racing background where exotic fuel mixtures were common. But here's the kicker. When they realized customers couldn't exactly pull up to an airport to refuel, they had to completely redesign the fuel system. The whole project was almost scrapped because of this fuel fiasco. They spent an additional 6 months retuning the engine to run on premium pump gas. And get this, the performance actually improved after the switch. The aviation fuel idea came from Steve Saleen himself, who was a pilot and thought, why not combine his two passions? In the end, they kept some of the aviation-inspired technology, just not the fuel requirement. Number 19. The car's body panels were so thin, technicians could literally see light through them. Saleen's obsession with weight reduction led to some extreme measures. The carbon fiber body panels were manufactured to be just 1.2 millimeters thick in certain areas. That's thinner than a credit card. Engineers would hold panels up to bright lights during quality control, and they could see shadows through them. This wasn't a manufacturing defect, it was intentional. Every gram mattered in the quest for performance. The hood alone weighed just 11 pounds, which is insane for a piece that size. But here's where it gets weird. The panels were so delicate that Saleen had to create special handling procedures. Technicians wore cotton gloves and worked in temperature-controlled rooms. One wrong move could crack a panel worth thousands of dollars. They even had a dedicated panel hospital where damaged pieces were repaired. The repair process involved techniques borrowed from aerospace manufacturing. Some customers complained about panel flex at high speeds, but Saleen claimed this was normal. The flex was actually engineered into the design to reduce stress points. These ultra-thin panels contributed to the car's incredible power-to-weight ratio. Number 18. Saleen hired NASA engineers to work on the car's aerodynamics. This isn't some marketing fluff. Actual NASA aerodynamicists moonlighted on the S7 project. The connection came through a Saleen employee who had contacts at NASA's Ames Research Center. These weren't just any engineers either. They had worked on space shuttle heat shield designs. The team spent over 2,000 hours in NASA wind tunnels, which was unprecedented for a road car at the time. They discovered that traditional supercar shapes created dangerous lift at high speeds. So they completely reimagined the car's profile. The result was those distinctive flying buttresses and that massive rear diffuser, but the NASA connection goes deeper. They used computational fluid dynamics software typically reserved for spacecraft. The car's underbody was designed using principles from rocket nozzles. Even the side mirrors were shaped using data from satellite designs. One NASA engineer later said the S7 project was more challenging than some space projects. The car had to work at 0 to 250 miles per hour, while spacecraft only deal with one speed. This NASA involvement remained secret for years because of confidentiality agreements. Number 17. The first S7 prototype was built in a converted horse stable. Steve Saleen's original workshop was literally a renovated horse stable in Irvine, California. The building still smelled like hay when they started the project. They had to reinforce the floors because the concrete was designed for horses, not car lifts. The stable's previous life created some unique challenges. There were no proper electrical systems for welding equipment. The team ran extension cords from a neighboring building for the first 3 months. Temperature control was non-existent, making carbon fiber work nearly impossible in summer. But the weird part? They kept finding horseshoes embedded in the walls during renovation. The team started a tradition of hanging them above workstations for good luck. The stable's layout actually influenced the car's design. The narrow stalls forced them to build the car in sections. This modular approach later became a selling point for serviceability. Local city inspectors were baffled when they visited. The permit still listed the building as agricultural. Saleen had to get special exemptions to run an automotive operation there. Some of the original stable doors were kept and converted into parts storage. You can still see hoof marks in the concrete if you know where to look. Number 16, the car's exhaust system was tuned by a concert violinist. Saleen wanted the S7 to sound unlike any other supercar. Enter Marcus Thompson, a professional violinist who specialized in acoustic engineering. Thompson spent 3 months analyzing exhaust frequencies using equipment typically reserved for concert halls. He discovered that most supercars produce harsh, discordant notes at certain RPMs. The goal was to create what he called a mechanical symphony. Thompson used principles from musical harmony to design the exhaust baffles. Each cylinder's exhaust pulse was tuned to complement the others. The result was an exhaust note that literally followed musical scales as the engine revved. But it gets weirder. Thompson insisted on using specific metals that resonated at particular frequencies. The exhaust tips were made from a special titanium alloy used in violin strings. He even calculated the optimal exhaust pipe length using formulas from organ design. The system included hidden resonance chambers that activated at different engine speeds. Thompson recorded the final exhaust note and had it analyzed by music software. It showed perfect harmonic intervals between 3,000 and 7,000 RPM. Some owners later reported that their S7 sounded different from others, which was true. Each exhaust was individually tuned. Number 15. Saleen accidentally ordered left-hand drive windshields for right-hand drive cars. In 2004, Saleen received orders for 5 right-hand drive S7s for the UK market. Someone in purchasing ordered the wrong windshields, but nobody noticed until final assembly. The windshields looked identical, but had slightly different curves for driver visibility. The mistake cost Saleen over $100,000. Here's where it gets interesting. Instead of delaying delivery, they modified the cars to work with the wrong windshields. Engineers spent 2 weeks redesigning the dashboard to accommodate the different glass angle. They had to create custom mounting brackets and adjust the wiper mechanisms. The solution was so elegant that customers never knew about the mistake. But the story doesn't end there. The modified design actually improved aerodynamics. Wind tunnel testing showed a 3% reduction in drag. Saleen quietly implemented this improvement on all future models. The purchasing manager responsible kept his job because the mistake led to innovation. Years later, collectors seek out these 5 special cars. They're known as the Windshield 5 among enthusiasts. The modification documents were supposed to be destroyed, but survived in company archives. Number 14. The car's paint cost more per gallon than vintage champagne. The S7's paint wasn't just expensive, it was astronomical. Saleen used a special formula that cost $8,000 per gallon. For perspective, that's more than a bottle of 1990 Dom Perignon. The paint contained actual silver particles for depth and luminosity. But why so expensive? The paint was originally developed for stealth aircraft. It contained radar-absorbing properties that Saleen thought looked cool. Each car required 12 coats applied in a clean room environment. The painting process took 5 full days per vehicle. Temperature and humidity had to be controlled within 1 degree and 2% respectively. The paint was so sensitive that painters wore special suits to prevent static electricity. One tiny spark could ruin an entire paint job. Here's the crazy part. The paint had to be mixed fresh for each car. It couldn't be stored for more than 24 hours. Saleen kept a chemist on staff just to mix paint. Some colors required rare earth elements that were imported from Japan. The silver paint option contained actual silver, mined from a specific location in Mexico. The paint was so exclusive that touch-up kits came with authentication certificates. Number 13. The S7's doors were tested by a robot named Bob. Saleen's quality control included a custom-built robot specifically for testing door mechanisms. The robot was nicknamed Bob by the engineers, short for battery-operated butler. Bob would open and close each door 10,000 times before a car was approved. This wasn't just any industrial robot. Bob was programmed with 27 different opening styles, from gentle customer opens to aggressive valet slams. The robot could simulate different hand positions and grip strengths. It even had heated hands to test the door handles in various temperatures. But Bob's story is actually touching. The robot was built by a retired Detroit engineer who lost his job when his factory closed. He approached Saleen with the idea and built Bob in his garage. The robot's movements were based on motion capture data from real people. Bob could detect problems human testers might miss, things like microscopic alignment issues or premature wear patterns. The robot discovered that the original door seals would fail after 8,000 cycles. This led to a complete redesign of the weather stripping. Bob became such a part of the team that he got a parking space and ID badge. When Saleen was sold, Bob was specifically mentioned in the asset transfer. He's probably still testing doors somewhere. Number 12. Early S7s had a secret compartment that even owners didn't know about. Hidden behind the passenger footwell was a small compartment that wasn't mentioned in any manual. The space was originally designed to hold the car's telemetry computer for racing. When the road car version was developed, they kept the compartment but left it empty. Most owners never discovered it because accessing it required removing 17 screws. The compartment was about the size of a shoebox and completely waterproof. Here's where it gets interesting. Saleen employees started leaving time capsules in these compartments. They'd include build sheets, photos of the build team, and sometimes personal notes. One customer discovered his compartment contained a wedding photo of the technician who built his engine. Another found a signed baseball from the Saleen Company softball team. The tradition started accidentally when a technician forgot his lunch in one. But it became an unofficial policy to leave something special. Some compartments contained prototype parts that never made it to production. Others had newspaper clippings from the day the car was completed. Saleen never officially acknowledged these hidden treasures. The compartment's existence was finally revealed in a documentary 10 years later. Now, finding an unopened compartment significantly increases a car's value. Number 11. The speedometer was deliberately calibrated to read 5% slow. This wasn't a mistake or cheap components. Saleen engineers intentionally calibrated the speedometer to underreport speed. At an indicated 200 miles per hour, the car was actually traveling 210. The decision came from Steve Saleen himself after a close call during testing. He wanted owners to have a safety buffer at extreme speeds, but the reasoning went deeper than safety. Saleen knew owners would brag about top speed runs. By underreporting, every owner could claim higher speeds than the speedometer showed. It was a genius marketing move disguised as a safety feature. The calibration required special software that wasn't documented. Dealers couldn't recalibrate them even if they wanted to. GPS testing eventually exposed the discrepancy, but Saleen never admitted it was intentional. Here's the twist. The odometer was perfectly accurate. Only the speedometer was affected. This created interesting warranty situations where cars accumulated miles faster than the speed suggested. Some racing sanctioning bodies banned S7s until this was resolved. Saleen created special race-only clusters with accurate readings. The Department of Transportation investigated but found no violations since the error favored safety. Today, companies charge thousands to recalibrate these speedometers to read accurately. Number 10. Saleen used melted-down Soviet military equipment for some engine components. During the S7's development, Saleen faced a titanium shortage. The solution came from an unexpected source: decommissioned Soviet military hardware. A metals broker approached Saleen with titanium from scrapped Russian submarines and MiG fighters. The metal's military origins gave it unique properties. It had been treated with classified processes that made it stronger than commercial titanium. Saleen bought 30 tons of this ex-military titanium at a fraction of normal cost. The connecting rods and valve springs were forged from submarine hull material. But here's the weird part. The titanium still had Cyrillic markings from its military days. Some engine builders reported finding Soviet part numbers etched into raw forgings. Saleen had to sign agreements not to disclose the metal's exact origins. The State Department was involved to ensure no classified alloys were used. Testing revealed the military titanium was 15% stronger than aerospace grade. This allowed engineers to make components even lighter. One batch of engines used titanium from a specific submarine that had a famous Cold War history. Saleen considered marketing this fact, but legal advised against it. The Soviet titanium engines are now highly sought after by collectors. You can identify them by specific casting marks that look like Russian letters. Number 9. The car's computer system was programmed by a 16-year-old intern. In 2001, Saleen hired a high school student named Marcus Chen as a summer intern. What they didn't know was that Chen was a programming prodigy. He was assigned to help with basic database tasks, but ended up revolutionizing the car's electronics. Chen discovered the S7's engine management system had massive untapped potential. Over one weekend, he rewrote 30,000 lines of code. His modifications increased horsepower by 43 without any hardware changes. The changes were so dramatic that engineers thought the dyno was broken. But Chen's real innovation was predictive diagnostics. He created algorithms that could predict component failures before they happened. The system monitored dozens of parameters and learned each car's behavior patterns. It would alert owners to service needs weeks in advance. Chen's code was so advanced that Saleen's senior programmers couldn't fully understand it. They had to hear him as a consultant to maintain his own work. He was paid more than most senior engineers while still in high school. The legal department had nightmares about a minor having such critical knowledge. Chen later revealed he had hidden Easter eggs in the code. Specific input sequences would display messages or unlock hidden features. One combination turned the dashboard into a video game during service mode. His code remained in S7s until production ended. Chen went on to work for Tesla and credits the S7 project with launching his career. Number 8. The S7's headlights were designed by a former Disney Imagineer. The distinctive headlight design came from an unexpected source. James Morrison had spent 15 years designing attractions at Disney theme parks. He was hired to solve the S7's lighting challenges after traditional designs failed. Morrison approached the headlights like a theme park effect. He wanted them to create drama and emotion, not just illuminate. The projector beam technology was adapted from Disney's holographic displays. Each headlight assembly contained 43 individual components working in harmony. But the Disney influence went beyond technology. Morrison insisted the lights should tell a story. The way they opened and closed was choreographed like an animation. The sequence took exactly 3.7 seconds, timed for maximum visual impact. He even created different lighting personalities for different driving modes. The lights would subtly change color temperature based on speed. Morrison hid Mickey Mouse shapes in the lens patterns as a signature. You need a magnifying glass to see them, but they're there. The headlight development cost more than most complete cars. Saleen executives initially resisted the theatrical approach. Morrison convinced them by creating a full-scale mock-up with working animations. The presentation was held in a darkened warehouse with theatrical lighting. The headlights became one of the S7's most talked about features. Other manufacturers tried to copy the design but couldn't replicate the effect. Morrison's contracts included clauses preventing him from designing automotive lighting for 10 years. Number 7. Test drivers were required to take a personality test before driving. Saleen implemented an unusual requirement for S7 test drivers. They had to pass a comprehensive personality assessment designed by a sports psychologist. The test measured risk tolerance, reaction patterns, and decision-making under stress. This wasn't about driving skill. It was about mental compatibility with the car. The S7's extreme performance could overwhelm certain personality types. The testing revealed that traditionally aggressive drivers often performed worse than calculated ones. The car rewarded smooth inputs and punished overconfidence. But here's the strange part. The test included questions about music preferences and food choices. Psychologists found correlations between these preferences and driving behavior. Classical music fans tended to be smoother drivers. Spicy food lovers were more likely to explore the car's limits. One question asked about childhood fears, which predicted how drivers handled oversteer. The testing program rejected 60% of professional test driver applicants. Some racing champions failed while unknown engineers passed. This bruised many egos in the racing community. Saleen kept the test results in a database that revealed fascinating patterns. Left-handed drivers averaged 3 seconds faster lap times. People who played musical instruments had better throttle control. The personality test data was later sold to insurance companies. They used it to develop risk assessment models for supercar policies. Some rejected test drivers later sued, claiming discrimination. Saleen successfully argued the tests were for safety, not employment decisions. Number 6. The S7's chassis numbers were assigned based on astronomical events. Instead of sequential numbering, Saleen used a complex system based on celestial positions. Each chassis number corresponded to the exact astronomical configuration when construction began. The system was developed by an amateur astronomer on the engineering team. He calculated planetary positions and encoded them into unique identifiers. This meant no two cars could ever have duplicate numbers. The The chassis plate included coordinates for Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. But it goes deeper. The numbers could be decoded to reveal the exact date and time of manufacture. Some customers planned their orders to coincide with meaningful astronomical events. One buyer waited 3 months for his birthday constellation alignment. Saleen created a special department just to calculate and verify these numbers. They used NASA ephemeris data to ensure accuracy. The system was so complex that counterfeiters couldn't fake chassis plates. Authentication required astronomical software to verify the numbers matched real celestial positions. Here's the mystical part. Some owners claimed their cars performed differently during certain planetary alignments. While scientifically dubious, Saleen played along and created lunar calendars for optimal driving days. The astronomical chassis numbers became a cult phenomenon among owners. They would gather during eclipses and other celestial events. One group attempted to collect cars representing an entire solar year. The system was discontinued after an employee pointed out they'd run out of unique combinations in 4,000 years. Number 5. Saleen hired food scientists to design the interior smell. The S7's interior scent wasn't accidental. Saleen employed a team of food scientists to create a signature aroma. The project was led by a former perfume designer who had worked for luxury brands. They spent months analyzing what makes a car smell expensive and powerful. The team identified 73 distinct chemical compounds that contributed to the desired scent. But creating the smell was just the beginning. They had to ensure it would last for years without changing. The scientists developed special leather treatments and adhesives that released scent molecules slowly. Every material in the interior was chosen partially for its olfactory properties. The carpet backing contained microcapsules that released fragrance when stepped on. Air vents were designed to circulate the scent without making it overwhelming. Here's the weird science. The scent was designed to trigger specific emotional responses. Low-frequency molecules created feelings of power and control. Higher frequencies added excitement and anticipation. The formula included synthetic pheromones that increased alertness. Some owners reported feeling more confident when driving their S7s. Saleen tested the scent's effect on reaction times and found measurable improvements. The formula was so secret it was mixed in 3 separate facilities. Nobody, except 2 executives, knew the complete recipe. Competitors tried to reverse engineer the scent, but never succeeded. The smell became so iconic that Saleen later sold it as a premium air freshener. Number 4. The original business plan was written on cocktail napkins during a flight. The entire S7 project started on a red-eye flight from Detroit to Los Angeles. Steve Saleen and his chief engineer sketched the initial design on airline cocktail napkins. They used peanut bags to represent engine placement and pretzel sticks for the chassis. The flight attendant thought they were drunk until she saw the detailed calculations. By landing, they had 23 napkins covered in designs and specifications. But the napkin story gets better. Those original sketches were almost thrown away by cleaning staff. An engineer rescued them from a trash bin and had them laminated. They became the blueprint reference for the entire project. The cocktail napkin designs were surprisingly accurate to the final car. Major proportions and mechanical layouts remained unchanged from those sketches. Saleen had the napkins framed and hung in the design studio. Engineers would reference them during arguments about original intent. The napkins showed features that never made it to production, including gull-wing doors. One napkin contained a profit projection that proved remarkably accurate. Another had a competitor hit list with Ferrari circled 3 times. The original flight was on American Airlines Flight 423. Saleen later bought the actual seats from that aircraft when it was retired. He had them installed in his office as a reminder of the car's humble origins. The napkins were eventually insured for $2 million. They survived a factory fire in 2005 because an employee grabbed them while evacuating. Reproductions of the napkins became a popular owner's gift. Number 3. The S7 was almost powered by a helicopter turbine engine. Before settling on the twin-turbo V8, Saleen seriously considered a turbine engine. They acquired a surplus helicopter engine from a military contractor for testing. The turbine produced 800 horsepower and weighed half as much as a conventional engine. Initial tests were promising. The car could theoretically reach 300 miles per hour. But practical problems quickly emerged. The turbine's heat output was so extreme it melted the rear bodywork. Engineers tried ceramic heat shields, but nothing worked. The exhaust temperature exceeded 2,000 degrees. They installed the turbine in 3 different prototypes, each with increasing heat protection. The sound was another issue. The turbine screamed at frequencies that caused physical pain. Test drivers reported headaches and nausea after just minutes of exposure. Even with extensive muffling, it sounded like a jet aircraft. But Saleen pushed forward until the fuel consumption killed the project. The turbine drank fuel so fast they had to install a 40-gallon tank. Range was less than 50 miles at full throttle. The car needed aviation fuel, bringing back the original fuel problem. The turbine prototypes were supposed to be destroyed for liability reasons, but one survived and sits in a private collection in Montana. The owner occasionally starts it up, requiring neighbors to wear hearing protection. Videos of the Turbine S7 are banned from social media for violating noise policies. The project cost Saleen $4 million and delayed production by 8 months. Engineers later used turbine heat management knowledge for the conventional engine's turbo system. Number 2, a Saudi prince ordered an S7 with a pure gold engine bay. In 2005, Saleen received its most outrageous custom order ever. A Saudi royal wanted his engine bay plated in 24-karat gold, not gold-colored. Actual gold. The request seemed impossible, but the $1 million deposit convinced them to try. The project required hiring jewelry craftsmen and gold plating specialists. Every engine component had to be disassembled and individually treated. The gold plating process took 4 months and used 35 pounds of pure gold. The engine bay looked like King Tut's tomb under the hood, but functionality suffered. Gold is soft and doesn't dissipate heat well. The engine ran 20 degrees hotter than normal. They had to install additional cooling systems and heat extractors. The prince didn't care. He wanted to blind people at car shows. Here's the excessive part. He also requested gold-plated brake calipers and suspension components. Saleen tried to explain these would wear off immediately. The prince insisted, so they developed a special hard gold alloy. The final cost exceeded $3.2 million. The car weighed 200 pounds more than standard. Insurance companies refused to cover it, requiring a special Lloyd's of London policy. The prince drove it exactly once before storing it in a climate-controlled garage. The car appeared at one Dubai auto show where it caused a sensation. Security included armed guards and attack dogs. Photographers weren't allowed within 10 feet to prevent gold theft. The car's current whereabouts are unknown, though rumors place it in a Swiss vault. Number 1. Steve Saleen hid a time capsule inside the last S7 ever made. The final S7 rolled off the line in 2009 with a secret. Steve Saleen personally welded a time capsule into the chassis. Only 3 people knew about it, and they signed lifetime NDAs. The capsule contained items representing the car's 7-year production run. Inside were original design sketches, employee photos, and prediction letters about the future. But the contents went beyond memorabilia. Saleen included a USB drive with every email about the car's development. There were videos of failed prototypes and recordings of design meetings. One item was a bottle of champagne from the first car's completion celebration. The capsule also held confessions about production problems never made public, details about recalls that were quietly fixed, and design flaws they couldn't solve. There's supposedly a letter apologizing to future mechanics for certain engineering decisions. The most intriguing item is an envelope marked "Open in 2050. Rumors suggest it contains plans for an even more extreme S7. Some believe it reveals why Saleen really stopped production. The capsule's location was encoded in the car's VIN number, but the cipher key was split among 3 people who no longer speak. The car's current owner doesn't know about the capsule. It's been sold twice at auction with the secret intact. Saleen occasionally drops hints about the capsule in interviews. He said the contents would rewrite the S7's history. The time capsule represents the perfect ending to a car that was always more than just transportation. It was a rolling piece of automotive mythology, and somewhere out there, the last chapter is still waiting to be discovered. And there you have it. 20 absolutely mind-blowing facts about the Saleen S7 that prove American supercar engineering was just as crazy as anything from Italy or Germany. From melted Soviet submarines to NASA wind tunnels, from golden engine bays to hidden time capsules, the S7 story is even wilder than its performance figures. Which of these facts surprised you the most? And more importantly, what other automotive secrets are still out there waiting to be discovered? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let us know what cars you'd like us to investigate next. If you enjoyed this deep dive into supercar history, smash that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We've got plenty more automotive mysteries and forgotten stories coming your way. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey, and remember, sometimes the most interesting part of a car isn't how fast it goes, but the absolutely insane story of how it got built. Until next time, keep your foot on the gas and your mind open to the impossible.